I can't do it. All right. Yep. So it is. We are. Maybe a transcript. I don't know if we need that, but I'm going to close that. So anyway, we are recording the meeting. So just so you're aware, and then that we'll also post this meeting on our website after we're done, probably by tomorrow or so. But welcome everybody. I am Jack Eklund. I'm the Public Works Director with University Place. And tonight with us, we also have Tim Coleman, our Construction Manager. And let's see, and then if you do have, we have a couple things just to point out. If you are interested, you could always, there is like a little hand symbol up there. As we go along, you could ask questions by doing the little hand raise symbol. And then alternatively, if you'd like, you could also, there's a little, like a little speech bubble that says chat up top. And if you click on that, then you also could enter a question in the chat there. And so either way, we're happy to get going. But let's, I am going to bring up the strip map here to show and kind of describe what we're doing with our project and what all we have. So I'm going to zoom in on this a bit so you can see it. But so welcome everyone to our kind of open house meeting on the 35th Street Phase 1 project construction. This project is basically we're going to be improving 35th with sidewalks, bike lanes, street lighting between Bridgeport and 67th. We also will be doing landscaping strips and we'll be having getting a flashing crosswalk with some contrasting pavement right at Morrison, and we'll zoom in a bit to see these more. And then we're also going to update the crosswalks at Drexler and 35th with some contrasting pavement as well. So I'll zoom in and just we can kind of look at the project. Tim, are you able to see this okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay to see with this thing real quick, Jack. If we could just mention to everybody, if you don't want to speak, you have the option to, in the chat up at the top, there's an ability to put into a chat. You can type a message there. And then yep. If also you'd like to look in that chat area, I've placed my contact information. If you have any questions while the project is going and you would like to, meet with me or something like that, I'm able to as well. So thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks, Tim. So I'm going to start just to kind of scrolling through the project. So here you see where we're at Bridgeport, where we don't see any improvements is where the existing sidewalks are, and we won't be changing anything. The dark gray you see is where we see basically the widening for the sidewalk. This little light gray is where our landscaping strips are. The little funny red looking spiders are actually street lights. And then if you see like a little stripy thing behind somewhere, that's like that is a retaining wall. And then the little speckled gray would be the sidewalk. So as we go down, you can see here's where we're talking about doing some concrete to do a little bit more visibility for at the crosswalks at Drexler and 35th. And then as we move further down, you see right here at Morrison and 35th, we are also adding some concrete to that crosswalk, and then we're going to be doing some flashing lights there that will be pedestrian activated, similar to the lights. If any of you have driven down Cirque, we installed those about a year or two ago, probably 2 years now, in between like Beckenridge Drive and Grandview. We have about, I think, 2 or 3 of these flashing lights, and they've worked out quite well for these streets. Let's see, sounds like somebody's trying to get in the meeting, so I might need to move it.
I got it, Jack.
Okay.
I'll keep making sure I'm on top of that. Thanks.
Okay, great. Appreciate it, Tim. All right, so then as we'll move down, you see we'll be adding, you have some driveways here. We're picking up then the sidewalks here, moving down to, it says I have to split the screen to go back to the next spot. So that's about 71st, and now here we are coming down. There's 70th. You get down toward 69th. Then near the end, you see this is the new housing development there, the Summer Lane. So we're tying into those sidewalks, and then ultimately getting and tying into 67th Avenue. Our plan right now is we're working with the state to get our, we have the funds in place. Just have to get in our grant contract together with the state to give us the authorization to proceed. And then we anticipate probably going out to bid in about 2 to 3 weeks, is that my guess? Yeah, so probably about 2 to 3 weeks. And then the project itself will, the contract time will probably be close to a year, but that's mostly because of lead time for street lighting. Probably the bulk of the, the work, getting the sidewalk and the landscaping in will probably be done in about 6 months. So with that, I did see that James had a question. On the flashing lights, they are the RRFB is what we're looking at doing, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons with the pedestrian actuated, and they've been so far pretty successful. So we're excited about that. And then yeah, that's so Paul, the estimated timeline is about a year, although there'll be several months of that time frame is going to be waiting for streetlights to come. So there'll be some point in the project which almost everything will be done, and then we'll most likely have to issue the contractor a shutdown until he gets streetlights to come in. But
we clarify on that. I think probably a year to completion. I think we're going to start here in about a month or so. Correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So.
Yeah.
The estimated timeline is a year to getting to completed. So just, I'm not sure about your question, just making sure we're clarified on that. Yeah.
Right. For actually starting, we're probably, if we go out to bid in 2 to 3 weeks, we're required to do a 3-week bid advertisement time. And then usually it's about 2 weeks to a month from the time we open the bids to, well, the contractor could get on site. So I'm anticipating a start date probably around, probably July is probably when they're going to start, maybe end of June if depends what the schedule works out for the contractor and so forth. But they typically have, when we open the bids, about 30, I think we have 30, they have a minimum of 30 days or maximum of 30 days after we award for them to get all their contracts in. But with that, also open up if you guys have any questions. Reed, yeah, the question was for power lines, and in this one it is the power lines are all staying in place. There may be some locations where they have to get relocated, but we're not able to be we're not able to lower those. The grant is for this project. Is for specifically for non-motorized improvements, and so we're not able to add any things like undergrounding of powers. And then James had a question about the Morrison 35th crosswalk. There's a possibility to look if it goes on the other side. I think when our engineers looked at it, the thinking is that side is a little, the visibility is a little better on that side, but that's certainly something we can all run it by our designer and see if there is a possibility to change that. We can certainly look at that. That's at the Morrison 35th intersection. Paul had a question. Any additional infrastructure at this point? It's
Matt, Jack. I think you might have skipped the question before with James there. I think it's a good question.
That's what I was talking about, the crosswalk. we'll have to check
good,
that
thank you.
with Don to just see. My understanding, I believe he picked that from a sight distance, but we certainly can look at it. Paul, we're not going to be adding any other infrastructure from our end. Our project funding is limited to non-motorized improvements, and so that's where we are with that. And then, Valerie, good question about the speeds. I think I forgot to mention, we do have part of the project. We'll be adding 2 of the speed radar feedback signs in the project, so that should help reduce some speeds. The other aspect for speeding will be just the improvements themselves. When you add the sidewalks, and then even more importantly, the landscaping and the street trees, which I know a lot of folks kind of think of street trees as just beautification, but it's also a traffic calming measure in itself. And often we've seen in our past projects probably close to about a 5-mile-an-hour reduction from what it was the average to after a project like this is put in. But there still will be challenges. This street is, of course, a challenge just because of the hillside, but at least we should be helping out the situation. Let's see. James had a question. Possibility for another crosswalk between Morrison and 67th. We've looked at that. There didn't seem to be a natural location for one. When the hillside gets steeper, it's a little trickier. So right now we're not planning on one. But yeah, we recognize it is a long stretch, but yeah, that's our concern is the safety.
In chat here, Jack, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to turn this into an argument. I really appreciate what y'all are doing
No.
with the RFP there at Morrison. But my point is, I don't know if y'all just, I don't know how you might want to do it, but I would just sit like an engineer down there on a Saturday or something like that for like 2 hours, and you'll see people who walk up and down that street. Everyone crosses like midway, just a little bit past where the crest of that hill is. They cross over the street like illegally right down. And like I do it too when I walk back and forth to like Paradise Pond and such. Like that's the best place. You know, I walk down there a little ways and I cross over just because it can get a little bit confusing. And no one who's going to go ahead and be crossing who lives along any of those cul-de-sacs or dead ends and such that's midway between the two, when they're headed to the park, they're going to walk all the way down to 67th and then double back, right? It's there's even like a like that trail that comes from Paradise Pond all the way down to 35th. And when I look at that, that's inviting people to like want to cross right at that point. So even if it's not midway between there, I would think that like a crosswalk, or even if it's just a painted marked crosswalk at that point, seems like it would be maybe a good idea or something to look at.
Yeah, we certainly, and we appreciate the input there. The challenge is on streets like 35th, where we really are hesitant to just do the marked crosswalk, and we do have the one at Morrison, and the site, the existing one, and the site distance is a little better there. When you get to the really steep parts of the hill, and you have a marked crosswalk, it does make us a little nervous. We did have some spots on Cirque where we had some in the hill, but it's not in the steepest part. And so, right now we don't have plans, but we can reach out. We'll discuss with our engineer again to see if it's a possibility. We specifically did evaluate kind of everywhere, and we haven't found a good one we felt comfortable with yet, but we'll certainly raise it again.
That biggest issue is that sight distance when people are driving down that roadway. So yeah.
Paul, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, if you could go back to the diagram, I was curious to look at.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain some of the pictures, or like
For sure.
with the icons again. I guess I
Yeah,
was
where do you
curious to see
wanna
how
look?
many. I was curious about like how many streetlights you guys were planning on adding. Are those the red dots, or maybe
These little dots with they look like little dots with little arms on them. They'll be about every 100 feet. on each side of the street. And so kind of going up, you can kind of see it. They'll be the same style like you see on Grandview. They'll match in, the development here they put some in as well. And so as you go up, you'll see the little red dots. And I can go up to this one too to see where we'd be putting them. They are the newer, the LED high efficiency bulbs. So they do do a good job of both illuminating the roadway, but then they also, being an LED, there can be quite directional, so that also helps cut down glare to the neighboring houses, which is nice. But
And
Is
it like-
Paul,
what's the
just so
color
you
temperature?
know that it's actually, there's other lighting out there that's existing from other projects, so that we're kind of like adding to what's already there
in some
I see,
locations,
I
yep.
see.
in
Sure.
some locations. Yeah.
What's the color temperature that you guys are looking to use?
I'd have to double check on that one. It's our standard temperature you see. So if you drive down Cirque, it's going to be similar to that. We've tried to standardize on that one, just because it's so
on
we're not
Bridgeport.
stocking different fixtures.
Yeah, like on Bridgeport, I think you guys use like the sodium, the very orange light. Yeah, which they're
and so
really efficient, but they're very orange, right?
Yeah, and the LED, these are going to be the whiter lights.
Which is wider. Yeah. I
yeah.
guess I'm just curious to see. I mean, it's good and bad. I think I don't
Yeah.
know. Some people might be torn on it, but it's harder it's easier to see colors, but it's
Yep.
like, it's more bright, so it's like if it's less like nighttime, kind of
Yeah.
a color, less warm.
Yep.
But I'm sure maybe there's more studies on maybe it's more effective at illuminating so you can actually see, which is the whole purpose, right? You
Yeah,
can see other people and like actually see pedestrians or see cars better so you don't hit people.
exactly. Yeah, and probably the best example where you see the lights would be that newest stretch of Cirque, because that'll be the same, our current one. So between Breckenridge Drive, and although nowadays it's harder to drive at night because it's nice and light longer, but anyway, but yeah, that's the color, kind of coloring we'd be doing, but it is that lighter kind of color.
Cool.
Let's see. Valerie asked about a chicane. We've looked at chicanes on arterials such as 35th. We haven't been able to find a good spot for it. It's also tricky with the hills. And also with the chicanes, the challenge has been for a chicane to be effective, it has to, basically, kind of reduce the traffic in a, direct the traffic in a fairly limited area, which then has posed a challenge to the larger emergency vehicles. We did at one point, there have been some mountable chicanes that we looked at one point. However, those also, we did some test ones years ago, and they just haven't been, we haven't been able to find the magic bullet for that one. So it is a challenge, but to balance both what can we slow down the regular vehicle, but not negatively impact the fire engines and the aid vehicles. So that certainly is a challenge. I certainly have been, I do know the speeds are a challenge on 35th, Valley for sure. And a lot of the challenge is the hillside itself, but so this is kind of our first, kind of our first stab at trying to get something to at least control it a bit. But yeah, it's speeding, and especially when you have hills and grades are definitely a challenge. Hey, and Doug, you have Reed, Reed has a hand up. Sorry, Reed, I missed you there.
Hi, Jack. How are you? Nice to see
Good.
you.
Yeah.
Both of you. Thank you for the invite through the mail. So I just wanted, I think you remember me, right? I'm on 35th and
Yeah, for
70th.
sure. Yep.
So now that the engineering's done, I noticed that on the wall that there's little small dots. It looks like you're gonna put either a rail or a fence.
In some locations, yeah. Typically, if the wall is higher than, Tim, is it what?
It's 30 inches is what the
30
building
inches.
department says, yeah.
Yep. So if the wall is higher than 30 inches, we put a fence, and the fence we're planning is like a vinyl chain link fence is what we do, from basically just a fall protection type of thing.
And I
Okay.
believe that's the black vinyl. You can kind of see it in other places in the city. We've used it before.
I'm just worried about privacy in my backyard because I've been kind of holding off doing anything in my backyard. And that whole my property, it drops off heavily
Yeah.
going into there, and that's pretty steep drop off. So, if you're gonna put just a clear thing you can look through, I'm gonna buy a Rhino and use it for a, expedition back there. But I mean, I need to I'm worried more about coverage. So, I'm waiting for you guys so that I can tell my guy what I want to do after you guys move in and out there. So
Sure.
I'm just concerned about that whole cliff because it's slid once when they were building the buildings down across the street from me. Somebody parked a semi there and shoved the whole hillside down and bent my wall through. And
Yeah.
so that's why I'm concerned. You're coming through there and you're gonna dig in a wall, and I got a big tree sitting there also that's probably rooted into that side of that embankment. So there's going to be issues there when you go in and drill into it.
Let me
Hey,
see if I
Reed,
can.
I put my contact information in there. I would like to take a closer look at that as well, so I can just, when we're building the project, I can just kind of have an idea of what you're talking about. If you could contact me maybe on Monday, I can come out and take a look at that.
Yeah,
That'd
that'd
be
be
good.
great.
All right, cool,
And
thanks.
read it. I know it's around. Is this your
We're-
area further down?
Further
We're on the
down.
bottom left. Yeah, we're on the bottom left of your diagram.
Bottom left. Okay. I knew I'm close to there.
There you go.
In this area right here.
Yep, right there.
Yep. Yeah, and I remember Don met with you to make sure, because we want to make sure we're gonna, we don't want to impact your existing wall for sure. So, but yeah, we definitely, and I
Is
think
that
it's a
over-
good idea
I see it. I'm
to,
I was trying to find out where that is. It's on the north side there, Jack, there to the west of 70th. Is that where we're at?
yeah, this one right here, right?
Yes.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea to, Tim and I can go out there and look at it now that the plans are, because I know the last time, Reed, when Don met with you out there, and I think I met with you first, and then Don, I think second again. Everything is very preliminary. So Tim and I can go out there and even meet you again if you'd like, and we can kind of lay some things out now that the alignment's established, and we can look at that to make sure that addresses the issues.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I apologize, I'm not seeing the elevations. Is your property below the roadway or above the roadway there?
It's below.
It's the area where it's below. Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, it's considerably below actually. So especially as you go towards the back of the property, it drops off heavy. It gets really steep between the road and my backyard, towards the back end of the property, right where the telephone pole is.
At the back, yeah. At that back corner especially, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And then, hey, Reed, could you do me a favor? Let's see. I'll put my email here in the thing. If you could shoot me an email and just, so I'm Jay Eklund at cityvp.com. But shoot me an email with your contact information again, because I know I have it, but it'll be faster, and then I can give you a call, and Tim and I can schedule time to meet you out there.
Roger that.
And then Tim also gave you gave his information, and so Tim's also, you could also, anybody, if you guys want to get a hold of us and meet out there, get a hold of either Tim or myself. We'd be happy to meet you out there as well. Paul, what do you got?
Hey, maybe a simple question, but is the goal basically just to have a complete paved, like a sidewalk from 67th to Bridgeport, basically. Is that kind of, you could, I mean, I live in the area and I sometimes walk to like the library and like the markets there, but it's like, it's pretty dangerous sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
I think the cool thing is I'm hoping that this would be paved for all the people that live in the area. So is that the end goal? Basically, everybody can just walk on the sidewalk and you can get to, like, you know, the city center kind of without without risk of getting run over by a car, right? That's the
Yep.
goal. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. And so we'll have complete, continuous sidewalk all the way from, with this project, all the way from Bridgeport to 67th on both sides of the street, and then also a bike lane on both sides as well.
In the street too, as well. Okay.
Yep.
On both sides, they'll have a bike lane, basically. Is that correct?
Yep, bike lane on both sides, yep, and then the street lighting for the safety. And then this is actually the first phase of the project. We have, next year, we expect to be going to bid with the second phase, which would then pick up these improvements from Bridgeport down to Grandview. And so we'll have within a couple of years, we'll have all the way from 67th to Grandview, which is exciting, of sidewalks on both sides.
Of sidewalks all the way down. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know, are you guys also responsible for the changes in, you know where Child's right, like Chambers Creek Road
Yep,
down, you know, like it looks like you're adding sidewalks on Chambers Lane, I think.
yep,
But
that's taking a lot of Tim's time these days. He's
Oh,
out
okay.
Yeah, I'm the guy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll let other people ask questions right now.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. James,
Hey,
I see your hand up.
Hey, Paul, if you have any questions about that Chambers Creek, feel free to call me anytime during,
Okay.
during business
I
hours.
took down your
Yeah.
contact information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
I'll
got my
send you
contact
the-
information. Yeah, feel free to call me. I can answer any questions you have.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, James, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just double checking, but y'all are also removing that on-street parking that's near the Whole Food stretch of 35th, right?
We are, yeah, that
this-
parking
yeah.
goes away. We were initially hoping to be able to save that. The challenge with that were the grades at the apartments over there, and then also, when you have a bike lane and parallel parking, you have to have even a little bit wider buffer. And so we just couldn't get it fit in there. And so that parking strip will go away and is, will be where we get the bike lane there.
And I guess secondary question, and this is probably well beyond the scope of this, but is there any thought to doing like combined like the sort of omnidirectional bike lanes, like putting them both on the same side so that we have a little bit more buffer for the bikes and we keep the cars together and the bikes together, that kind of thought? I know I'd feel a lot safer rider down 35th or really anywhere in UP, but I mean, when I look at Morrison, Drexler, and 35th, I just see like this is, we might not have a neighborhood greenways program yet, but if we were to ever have one, those would be like, that's a very obvious north, south, east, west kind of corridor in UP. And like kind of thinking with how we would improve bike lanes in the future, like what's the next step for them, even if we're not willing to do buffered or protected lanes now. It just seems kind of like if we're going to stripe it, it would make sense to stripe it like that.
Yeah, it is. The only challenge with that and 35th is, you know, we are pretty narrow, you know, because of the grades and the slopes on each side. So when you do the buffered bike lane, it does take up a little bit more space. And so that's been the challenge to how do we get that in and not have as, you know, to kind of, but still at the same time minimize our impacts to the residents. But I know that certainly is something that with any project we want to look at. How do we make it safer and more inviting for cyclists for sure? And then question, Joe, 35th and the vacant lot. Let's pull up the plan, and if we don't, we certainly can get something.
Yeah.
But,
hey, Joe, do you have like ownership of that property at all? I mean, we'd be more than happy to put a driveway in for you if you'd like. We just, right now it's an empty lot, so we don't know exactly what to do there. So I think we just have walk straight through.
We might, yeah. Let's see. Yeah. the share, go back to the thing and let's look up. It should be on the upper part.
Yeah, it's just showing just sidewalk going straight
The
through.
whole way.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we got
Something- the shared
oh,
driveway
yeah,
there,
but
but I
this
don't
is
know if
to
that.
the,
Yeah.
basically there's more to this property. So we
Yeah.
certainly, yeah, Joe, let us know if you'd like to get one here. We could make something work, I'm sure. I don't remember, did we give a roadway cut on Morrison for it? I don't remember.
I don't recall, but I don't think there is anything there, Jack, but I mean, I can look. I can look at it tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, yeah, just get back to us.
That'd be great. Yeah, Joe,
That's
you've
fine.
got my contact information, or Jack's, if you could let us know, because we could make those changes before those plans actually go out to bid, and we can get that driveway in for you if that's what you'd like. If we put it in, then we can make sure it meets whatever requirements that we have, so you don't have to worry about the future.
All right. Let's see. Okay, anything else? Any other questions for this? We're really happy everyone was able to turn out for this. And we're hopeful this is a helpful format for folks. And like I said, we see Doug. Let's see, we have a Doug. You have your hand up.
Yeah, if there's nothing else, I don't want to make it all about me. I'm across the street from Reed. The
Okay.
the preliminary drawings showed a planter strip in front of my house. I was kind of excited maybe about the possibility of getting trees out there, but the drawing you just showed does not. You've changed the way the sidewalk goes. There's no planter.
Yeah, I'll look into that to see why that is.
And I was a little curious what happens on the south side of the sidewalk, like between the sidewalk now and my existing landscaping. Is it just gonna be torn up? What do you do to kind of blend that together?
Yeah, typically we try to match in something of the landscaping. It depends on what it is. And I don't know those details. I don't know if we have it quite down, but it depends what the landscaping is. Sometimes we do river rock. Sometimes we would do like seed it for grass if people have grass back there. Sometimes we do beauty bark. But we typically would have something that kind of somehow provides a transition that looks nice between the sidewalk and the deal. Let me see if we can.
Yeah, it's different. And well, in my case right now, that's just a big gravel. It's a parking area, and I'm losing that street parking.
Yep.
So I might as well turn it into grass or something nicer. So I didn't know how that goes.
Sure. Yeah, and I got to figure out why the trees went away, because it shouldn't be a grade issue on your side unless, anyway, we'll find out. And Doug, if you want to shoot me an email, or Tim also, and then we'll get back to you. And I know you've given me, I have it someplace in the past as well
Yeah,
when we met.
Uh,
But we'll definitely get back to you.
All right, I'm assuming the driveway is just kind of conceptual because my driveway is wider than what's shown in the gray there. You'll match my driveway?
Typically, let me pull it up again. The only caveat is your driveway all gravel or is it
No,
paved?
it's paved.
Okay, typically, if it's an existing paved driveway, we will match it. There is a maximum driveway width. However, we do treat paved driveways as kind of grandfathered in to that, and so then we do match that.
Okay, thanks.
Just to
That's all.
clarify on that, so like if you have flares on your driveway, we will likely straighten those out instead of put the little flares on them. And so it might look like your driveway's been narrowed, but really it's been pushed out to the sidewalk area. So we try to kind of clean those up and make them look a little bit better, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Tim.
All right. All right, so I guess that's everything. And hey, we appreciate the come join us for the meeting, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any. Oh yeah, go ahead, Paul.
One more question. Is there any, I guess, additional like paving, like a new blacktop or pavement that will go in after, like, once everything is like tidied up? And I don't know if like the construction will kind of chew up the road and then you'll come in and do like a new blacktop layer on top. Is that kind of like in the goal of the project? Do you know at this point?
On this project, unfortunately, because our funding source is just for non-motorized, like a pavement overlay at the end we're not eligible for that.
Oh, okay.
And so it's going to be similar to, although not the same scale, but when we did the section of Bridgeport between 27th and 19th, we did the sidewalks, but we weren't able to do a overlay of that either. So that's so unfortunately we'll be paving it. It'll still be it'll have some patches where some adjustments are, and then we're widen for the bike lanes, but overall it'll still be a smooth riding surface.
Yeah, it's not too bad right now, but I'm just curious if it might get a touch up in some way.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, just so you know, we're always looking for funding to do overlays on projects. So it may not happen now, but who knows in the future for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the other road, on like the Chambers Lane down the project you're working on, that road is like has tons of patches, and that is probably more eligible in my opinion than this road. I don't know what the worst is in UP. I haven't really audited the roads, but
yeah,
35th is not that bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
Jack, what about the sewers? Are they ever going to connect 35th down to 67th?
So we have the one sewer project that will be running some lines from 67th to 35th to that pump station. But right now, our project, and I don't know anything from the county that they're planning on running anything down 35th. We do have some funds that were given to the city for that sewer projects are eligible, that the council has identified a fair amount of funding that could be available for neighborhoods to expand sewer. And I know the 35th area is one of the neighborhoods that is under consideration. And I know later this year, we're going to be having some public outreach, and we have to, because part of the consideration will be then what's the support from the individual neighborhoods if they would like to see that as well. So that is a possibility, but not part of this project itself.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see. I see James asked about doing empty conduits. At this point, it wouldn't be part of our, unfortunately, not part of our scope of the non-motorized grant. So it's not something that'd be eligible under our funding to do. But we are looking for it on other projects, some of the bigger ones. We certainly like that, and we have encouraged our utility partners to think about that. But right now, they're swamped with about as much stuff as everybody on construction. So they're kind of barely just keeping up with the existing, and they aren't looking a lot about the new stuff. But it'd be good. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone again. And you have our contact information. Oh, Paul, I saw that. Yep. But anyway, yep. We got the comment for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just send an email to you guys just asking like I'm curious if University Place, like what's the steps to get more like higher speed fiber to like more residential communities, and what are the steps required, and like is there anything I could do as a homeowner and like someone that's interested? But I'm sure there's a lot to do, to get there.
Yep.
You get to work with like
and
internet companies and stuff, and
and we can it's a little bit tricky from our end. From the street side, we don't have a lot of control with that, but I know there's some policy things, and then just a lot of it's driven by the utility companies themselves. But yeah.
Cool.
Well, all right. Well, thanks everyone, and we look forward to hearing more from you and meeting with the Fairmountian. And also as the project goes on, for sure. And so appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Recording.